Admiral Deho stood on the bridge of the flagship Indomitable, watching the enemy fortress world grow larger on the main screen. Behind him, officers worked quietly at their stations. The blue glow from the monitors painted their faces in cold light. Deho was 52 years old, with gray streaking through his black hair. His uniform was crisp and perfect. His face showed nothing. 3 years. 3 long years of war against the Vokhtar Dominion. The aliens had conquered 47 species before they found humanity. They expected humans to fall quickly, like all the others. They were wrong. "Admiral, all battle groups report ready," said Heijin from beside him. She was his second in command, younger than him by 14 years, but sharp as a knife. Her eyes never missed a detail. Deho nodded once. "Status on the Reaper? Still on the planet's surface, sir," replied Sun-Hee from the communications station. She was a slim woman with kind eyes that didn't match the war around her. "Intelligence confirms his command ship is grounded for repairs. He's trapped. The Reaper." The name made veteran soldiers go quiet. The Vokhtar commander had killed thousands of humans personally. Entire fleets had fallen to his strategies. Colonies burned when he passed through. For 3 years, he had been humanity's nightmare. Now, finally, they had him cornered. "Begin the operation," Deho said quietly. The fleet moved like a living thing. 300 ships, the largest force humanity had ever assembled, began their attack pattern. Deho had planned every detail over 6 months. The Vokhtar fought with honor and tradition. They were predictable. Humans were not. Battle Group Alpha struck from the north, heavy destroyers hammering the fortress shields with continuous fire. The Vokhtar responded exactly as predicted, moving their defense fleet to intercept. "Battle Group Beta, execute," Heijin commanded. From the south, carriers launched wave after wave of fighters. Among them flew Minho, one of humanity's best pilots. He was 26 and cocky, always grinning even when death chased him through space. His squadron dove through debris fields, where sensors couldn't track them properly. "This is Blade Leader." Minho's voice crackled over the comm. "We're through their screen. No resistance. This is almost too easy." Deho heard the doubt in those last words. He felt it too. A cold touch at the base of his skull. But the tactical display showed everything proceeding perfectly. Battle Group Gamma was moving into position for the final strike. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy fluctuations from the planet," reported a young officer at the sensor station. "The fortress shields are failing. Faster than expected. Much faster. Vokhtar fleet is pulling back," Heijin observed, studying her screen with narrowed eyes. "They're abandoning the defense. Cowards running home," someone muttered. Deho didn't think so. The Vokhtar were many things, but never cowards. They fought to the death normally. This retreat felt wrong. "Press the advantage," he ordered anyway. What choice did he have? Turn back when victory was in reach? Minho's squadron punched through to the fortress itself. His fighter's camera showed the massive structure, all dark metal and weapon emplacements. Half of them were already dark. Powered down. "They're not even shooting at us," Minho reported, sounding confused now. "I'm reading minimal defensive fire. What's happening down there?" Sun-Hee suddenly sat up straight at her station. "Sir, I'm picking up something strange in the Vokhtar communications." "What kind of strange?" Heijin asked, moving closer. "They're not panicking. The chatter sounds almost pleased." Sun-Hee's fingers flew over her console. "No, that's not right. It's more like they're waiting for something." Deho felt ice in his stomach. "All ships, hold position. Admiral?" Heijin looked at him questioningly. Before he could answer, a new signal came through. Priority channel. Encrypted with codes that took precious seconds to decode. When it cleared, a single message appeared on the screen. The Reaper wished to speak with Admiral Deho. Directly, the bridge went silent. Every officer stared at the message. "It's a trap," Heijin said flatly. "Sir, We can't trust this. I agree, added the tactical officer. The Reaper has never communicated before. He just kills. Deho studied the message. After a long moment, he said, "Open the channel, Admiral." "That's an order, Commander." Sun He hesitated, then activated the communication link. The main screen flickered and changed. Instead of the fortress, they now saw a figure in full Vokhtar combat armor. The armor was black and covered in battle scars. The helmet showed no face, only a dark visor. The Reaper, Admiral Deho. The voice was filtered through the helmet, mechanical and cold, but something about it tugged at Deho's memory. "Congratulations on your victory today." "We haven't won yet," Deho replied carefully. "Haven't you?" The Reaper tilted his head slightly. "My fortress is surrounded. My fleet retreats. My shields fail. You hold all the advantages." A pause. Exactly as planned. Heijin's hand moved to her sidearm. Around the bridge, officers tensed. "What do you mean?" Deho asked, keeping his voice level. "I mean that I surrender, Admiral. I will come aboard your flagship personally. Alone and unarmed. We have much to discuss." "This is insane," Heijin whispered. "He's never surrendered. No Vokhtar commander has ever surrendered." "Perhaps I'm not like other Vokhtar commanders," the Reaper said, and Deho realized the alien could hear them. "I'll arrive in 1 hour. I trust you'll grant me safe passage?" It would be dishonorable otherwise. The channel cut off before Deho could respond. The bridge erupted in noise. Officers shouting questions, Heijin demanding they refuse the meeting, tactical officers arguing about whether to continue the attack or pull back. Deho raised one hand. Silence fell immediately. "We'll receive him," he said. "Admiral, this is clearly a trap." Heijin protested. "Perhaps. But he's right about one thing. We have him surrounded. If this is a trap, it's sprung against him, not us." Deho turned to face his second-in-command. "And if there's even a small chance we can capture the Reaper alive, we take it. His knowledge could end this war." Heijin didn't look convinced, but she nodded. "I'll prepare security. Heavy security. Do it." The next hour passed slowly. Minho's fighters maintained a perimeter around the fortress. The fleet held position, weapons hot and ready. On the Indomitable, Marines assembled in the docking bay. 50 of humanity's best soldiers, armed and armored, waiting. Deho watched through the cameras as a small Vokhtar shuttle approached. It was unarmed, just as promised. It landed softly in the bay. The boarding ramp extended. The Reaper walked down alone. The black armor looked even more imposing in person. Every Marine had a weapon trained on him. He ignored them all, walking steadily toward the interior door where Deho waited with Heijin. "Admiral," the Reaper said, stopping a few meters away. "Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your hospitality." "Don't thank me yet," Deho replied. "You're our prisoner." "Am I?" The Reaper reached up to his helmet. His hands found the helmet seals. There was a hiss of air pressure equalizing. Slowly, he lifted the helmet off. The face underneath was human, Korean, male, probably in his 50s. A face Deho had seen before, many years ago. A face that should be dead. "Hello, old friend," said Taejun, the man who had taught Deho everything he knew about tactics. The man whose funeral Deho had attended 20 years ago. "I think it's time we talked about the truth of this war." Behind Deho, someone's weapon clattered to the floor. The Reaper smiled sadly. Surprised? Deho couldn't breathe. The conference room felt too small, too hot. Around the table sat his senior officers, all staring at the man who shouldn't exist. Taejun sat calmly in his chair, still wearing the black Vokhtar armor from the waist down. The top half he'd removed, revealing a simple gray shirt underneath. He looked older than Deho remembered. Lines marked his face. His hair was mostly gray, but his eyes were the same, Sharp, intelligent, alive. You died, Deho finally said. The colony ship. The Voktar destroyed it. 30,000 people. You were on that ship. I was. Taejun agreed. The ship was destroyed. But I didn't die. The Voktar pulled a few hundred survivors from the wreckage. Most died from injuries. Some were kept for study. I was one of them. Minho, standing against the wall with a bandage on his shoulder from the battle, spoke up. His voice shook with anger. So they tortured you? Brainwashed you? No. Taejun looked at the young pilot. They didn't need to. They showed me something instead. Something that changed everything. What could possibly, Heijin started. Earth's war plans, Taejun interrupted. From before the Voktar ever made contact. Plans to expand aggressively into alien space. Plans to provoke conflicts with any species we encountered. Plans to use war to unite humanity's fractured colonies under one military government. The room went dead silent. You're lying, Deho said. But his voice lacked conviction. Taejun reached into a pocket and pulled out a small data device. He slid it across the table. See for yourself. Intercepted transmissions. Classified documents. Orders from Earth's High Command dated 6 months before first contact. He paused. Someone wanted this war, Deho. Someone on our side. Soon-hee picked up the device with shaking hands. Her fingers worked over her personal console, loading the data. Her face went pale as she read. It's real, she whispered. At least, it's not a forgery. These encryption keys are legitimate. They're from the Defense Ministry. Heijin stood abruptly. Even if this is true, it doesn't justify what you've done. You killed thousands of humans. Your own people. I know. Taejun's face showed genuine pain. Every death weighs on me. Every ship I destroyed. Every soldier who fell to my tactics. I remember all of them. He looked directly at Deho. But I was trying to expose the truth. The Voktar didn't want this war either. They were manipulated. Just like us. Then why fight? Minho demanded. Why become the Reaper? Why not just tell us? Who would believe me? A prisoner of the enemy, claiming our own government started the war? Taejun shook his head. I needed proof. I needed to get deep enough into Voktar Command to find evidence. To find who on both sides was keeping this conflict alive. Deho felt sick. So you trained them. You taught them how to fight us. I taught them how to times survive times you. Taejun corrected. Do you know what happens when the Voktar lose a battle? Their honor code demands they fight to the death. Every single soldier. I've seen entire fleets commit mass suicide rather than retreat. His hands gripped the table edge. I showed them. It was acceptable to withdraw. To preserve lives. That's why you've been winning, Deho. Not because you're better. Because I've been making them easier to beat. I don't believe you, Heijin said coldly. I know. But think about it. 12 straight victories? Against a species that conquered 47 others? Doesn't that seem unlikely? Taejun's eyes found Deho's. I taught you everything about tactics. I know how you think. Every victory you won, I made possible. The words hit Deho like a physical blow. Because part of him recognized the truth. The battles had been hard, but never impossible. The Voktar made mistakes that seemed almost deliberate. Openings appeared at perfect moments. You manipulated everything, Deho said quietly. I had to. The people behind this war, they're on both sides. They profit from the conflict. They need it to continue. Taejun leaned forward. But I've been gathering evidence for 20 years. Names. Faces. Locations. I can prove who's really responsible. Before anyone could respond, alarm klaxons began wailing throughout the ship. Sun-hee's console lit up with warnings. Admiral. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected. Massive, Voktar. Fleet. Jumping in system. How many? Heijin snapped. 500 ships. Maybe more. They're still coming through. Sun-hee's voice rose in panic. Sir, we're surrounded. The tactical display on the wall showed the nightmare scenario. Red markers appeared in a sphere around the human fleet. The Voktar had jumped in on all sides simultaneously. A perfect trap. A Voktar had jumped. ATF. Minho pushed off the wall, wincing at his shoulder. We need to get to our fighters. Now. Daeho turned on Taejun with fury in his eyes. This was your plan all along. Get aboard. Distract us. Let them surround us. No, Taejun said urgently. This isn't right. This wasn't supposed to happen. Guards, Heijin called out. Get him to the brig. Marines moved forward, but Daeho raised a hand. Wait. He studied his old mentor's face. You're surprised. This wasn't your plan. It's Reth's plan, Taejun said. The Voktar fleet commander. He was supposed to withdraw completely. Create space for negotiations. He stood quickly. Someone changed the orders. Someone who wants you all dead. The ship shuddered as the first long-range shots struck the shields. All hands to battle stations. Daeho commanded. Commander Heijin, take tactical. Get our fleet into defensive formation. What about him? She asked, pointing at Taejun. Daeho looked at the man who'd trained him, who'd supposedly died, who'd become their greatest enemy. Put him in the brig. Daeho hid B5 have a ground. Daeho hid B5 hound. Under heavy guard. As the Marines moved to take Taejun away, Daeho added, and keep him alive. We're not done talking. The bridge transformed into controlled chaos. Officers shouted reports. Weapons systems came online. The fleet began moving, but they were badly positioned, caught between the fortress and the new fleet, with no good escape route. Minho ran to the hangar, his wounded shoulder forgotten. His squadron was already preparing to launch. They were outnumbered 10-1, maybe worse. Standard fighter doctrine said they should stay docked. Preserve resources. But Minho had never followed standard doctrine. All fighters, this is Blade Leader, he transmitted. We're going out there. We're going to make them regret showing up. His wingmate, a quiet pilot named Kiwoo, came on the channel. How exactly do we fight? 500 ships. Same way we always do. One at a time. Minho strapped into his cockpit. And maybe we get lucky. The Indomitable shook again, harder this time. Reports flooded in from across the fleet. The Voktar were using new tactics, coordinated strikes that punched through human defenses. Ships were dying. In the brig, Taejun sat alone in his cell, listening to the sounds of battle. He'd failed. Despite everything, all his planning, all the sacrifices, it was ending in slaughter anyway. He thought about his daughter. She'd been on the colony ship too. Only 7 years old. The Voktar had pulled her from the wreckage with him. She'd survived 3 more years in captivity before fever took her. She'd died hating him, not understanding why he'd become one of them. It had to mean something. All the death, all the pain. It had to. On the bridge, Sun-hee suddenly sat up straight. Admiral, I'm picking up something in the Voktar transmissions. They're using an old encryption. Old how? Heijin demanded, coordinating the fleet's defensive fire. Old as in human military cipher, from 20 years ago. Sun-hee's fingers flew over her console. This doesn't make sense. Why would the Voktar use our codes? Daeho felt ice run down his spine. Unless someone taught them. Someone human. Taejun? Heijin suggested. No. He wouldn't use old codes. He'd know we could break them. Daeho's mind raced. Someone else. Someone who wants us to know there are humans involved in the attack. Another ship died on the tactical display. Then another. We can't hold this position, Heijin reported. We need to retreat. Now. Before they closed the trap completely, Deho looked at the screen showing their dwindling forces. At the Vokhtar fleet, systematically destroying them. At the fortress world, where the Reaper had supposedly been trapped. None of it made sense. Unless Taijun was telling the truth. Unless this war really was bigger than anyone knew. Bring him back, Deho said suddenly. Bring Taijun back to the bridge. Sir? Do it. Now. Minutes later, Taijun stood before him again, hands bound, Marines on all sides. You said you had evidence, Deho said. You said you knew who was behind this. I do. Then help us. Help us survive the next hour. And I'll listen to everything you have to say. Taijun smiled grimly. I thought you'd never ask. Taijun stood at the tactical display, his bound hands resting on the edge of the console. Around him, the Indomitable's bridge crew worked frantically. Ships died on the screen every few seconds. Red markers winking out of existence. The Vokhtar fleet is using pattern Delta 7, Taijun observed calmly, studying the enemy movements. That's interesting. What's interesting about it? Heijin snapped, coordinating return fire from the human fleet. They're destroying us. Delta 7 is a training pattern. It's what Vokhtar commanders use to teach junior officers. Taijun pointed to a cluster of enemy ships. See how they're rotating their firing positions? It's efficient, but slow. A real combat pattern would be faster, more aggressive. Deho watched his old mentor work. Why would they use a training pattern? Because someone wants this battle to look good without actually winning too quickly. Taijun's eyes narrowed. They're stalling, giving someone time for something. A proximity alarm blared. 3 Vokhtar cruisers broke formation, diving straight at the Indomitable. Evasive maneuvers, Heijin ordered. The massive flagship turned, but not fast enough. Enemy fire raked across the port side. Shields flared and died. Hull plating vaporized. Damage reports flooded in. In the hangar bay, Minho's fighter squadron launched into the chaos. Space around them filled with weapons, fire, debris, and dying ships. His targeting computer couldn't keep up with all the threats. Blade 3 is down, someone reported over the squadron channel. Blade 7, my engine's hit. I can't. The transmission cut off in static. Minho gritted his teeth and pushed his fighter harder. A Vokhtar interceptor appeared in front of him. He fired, destroyed it. Rolled past the explosion. 2 more appeared. The universe became a blur of violence. This is insane, Kiwu transmitted. We can't fight this many. We don't have to fight them all, Minho replied, dodging fire that turned another human fighter into scrap. We just have to survive long enough. Long enough for what? Minho didn't have an answer for that. On the bridge, Suni's console lit up with new data. Admiral, I've broken the encryption on those human military codes. The transmissions are coming from. She paused, her face going pale. They're coming from inside our own fleet. Everyone turned to stare at her. What? Deho demanded. 3 ships. The destroyer Vigilant, the cruiser Steadfast, and the carrier Morning Star. They're broadcasting orders to the Vokhtar fleet in human military cipher. Her voice shook. Sir, they're telling the enemy where to strike. They're coordinating the attack against us. Heijin pulled up the data on her own screen. That's impossible. Those captains are all veteran officers. Decorated heroes. Or traitors, Taijun said quietly. I told you. The conspiracy isn't just on Earth. It's embedded throughout the military. People who profit from endless war. Deho felt rage building in his chest. How long have you known about this? I've suspected for years. But I needed proof. Evidence that would stand up to scrutiny. Taijun looked at him directly. That's what I've been gathering. Names, dates, communications, everything. The ship shook again under enemy fire. A support beam collapsed on the upper level. 2 officers were crushed before anyone could reach them. We're losing, Heijin reported. Her voice was steady, but Daeho could hear the strain. Hull integrity at 40%. Shields are gone. We've lost 30 ships from our fleet. Taejun studied the tactical display. You need to contact Commander Reth directly. The Voktar fleet commander? Why would he talk to us? Because he's not your real enemy. The conspiracy used him too. They fed him false intelligence about human plans for genocide against all alien species. Taejun worked at the console, despite his bound hands. If I can get a secure channel to him, I can make him see the truth. And if you're wrong? Daeho asked. Then we die a few minutes sooner than we would anyway. Daeho made the decision. Sunhee, open a channel. Direct to the Voktar flagship. It took precious seconds. The Voktar didn't respond at first. Then, finally, a harsh alien voice came through, translated by the ship's computer. This is Fleet Commander Reth. Surrender immediately, and you will be granted honorable captivity. Taejun stepped forward. Commander. This is Taejun. I need you to check your orders. The attack pattern you're using is all wrong. The alien voice changed tone. Reaper? Why are you aboard the human flagship? That's a long story. But right now, you need to listen. Someone has changed your orders. You're being manipulated. Impossible. I received my orders directly from who? Think carefully, Commander. Who gave you those orders? A long pause. When Reth spoke again, his voice was different. Uncertain. From your representative. The human who speaks for Earth's government. In our negotiations. Taejun looked at Daeho. There it is. The conspiracy has representatives with both sides. They control the flow of information. In space, Minho's fighter took a hit. His right engine exploded. The cockpit filled with smoke and alarm sounds. He fought the controls, trying to keep the crippled craft stable. Blade Leader is hit, Kiwoo called out. I'm on you, boss. Get to the Indomitable. Negative. I can still fight. With one engine and no shields? Don't be stupid. Minho wanted to argue, but his remaining engine started making a grinding sound that promised imminent death. Fine. Covering my retreat. He turned toward the flagship, limping through the battle. Behind him, Kiwoo and two other fighters held off pursuing Voktar interceptors. One of those fighters exploded. Then, the other. Kiwoo's voice came through, tight with pain. Go. Just go. Then, static. Minho's vision blurred with tears and rage. He pushed his dying fighter toward the Indomitable's emergency hangar. On the bridge, Taejun was still talking to Commander Reth. The orders you received. They're designed to make this battle bloody, but not decisive. Someone wants both our fleets weakened, not destroyed. They want the war to continue. You speak of conspiracy among your own kind. Yes, and among yours. The Voktar who feed you intelligence about human genocide plans. They're part of it too. Another pause. This is a serious accusation. Reaper, I know. I can prove it. But not while we're killing each other. Taejun took a breath. Call a temporary ceasefire. 1 hour. Let me show you the evidence. My honor. Your honor means nothing if you're being manipulated into fighting the wrong enemy. The transmission cut off. For long seconds, nothing happened. The Voktar fleet continued its attack. The human fleet continued dying. Then, suddenly, the enemy fire stopped. They're pulling back, Haejin said, disbelief in her voice. All Voktar ships are withdrawing to minimum weapons range. Sunhee's console beeped. Incoming transmission from Commander Reth. He's granting 1 hour ceasefire. He wants to meet aboard his flagship. Daeho looked at Taejun. This could still be a trap. Everything's a trap. The question is, who said it? Taejun held up his bound hands. I'm going regardless. You can come with me or stay here. But, if you want the truth, you need to hear it from both sides. Minho's fighter crashed into the emergency hangar, metal screaming. He kicked open the canopy and crawled out, blood running from a cut on his forehead. Medical teams rushed to help him, but he waved them off. "Where's the Admiral?" he demanded. "Bridge, sir." Minho ran, ignoring the pain in his shoulder, the burns on his hands, the ringing in his ears. He reached the bridge just as Deho was preparing to leave for the Voktar flagship. "I'm coming with you," Minho said. "You're injured. I can still shoot straight. And if we're going into the enemy flagship, you want me there." His voice was hard. "They killed my wingmate. They killed my squadron. I'm coming." Deho studied the young pilot. Saw the rage, but also the determination. "Fine. But you follow orders. All of them." "Yes, sir." Hajin stepped forward. "Admiral, I should go instead of—" "No. You're in command of the fleet while I'm gone." Deho clasped her shoulder. "If this goes wrong, you get our people out of here. Retreat to Earth. Warn them about the conspiracy." She wanted to argue. He could see it in her eyes, but she just nodded. The shuttle was small and unarmed. Deho, Taejun, Minho, and Sunhee boarded together. Sunhee brought her technical equipment, saying they'd need her expertise to verify any evidence. As they flew across the battlefield toward the massive Voktar dreadnought, Minho stared at Taejun. "I should kill you," he said quietly. "For what you've done, I know, so why don't I?" Taejun looked at the young pilot. "Because you're smart enough to know that killing me doesn't end the war. It just makes you feel better for a few seconds." He paused. "And because part of you knows I'm telling the truth." Minho's hand moved to his sidearm. His finger touched the grip. Then, slowly, he let his hand fall away. The Voktar flagship grew larger ahead of them. It was huge. Easily 5 times the size of the Indomitable. Weapon emplacements covered its surface. Any one of them could vaporize their tiny shuttle. "They're giving us docking clearance," Sunhee reported. "Bay 7. There will be an honor guard waiting, or an execution squad." Minho muttered. The shuttle entered the bay. The doors closed behind them, cutting off their escape. As they landed, Deho could see Voktar soldiers lining up outside. Dozens of them, all armed. "Last chance to turn back," he said to no one in particular. "There's no turning back from truth," Taejun replied. "Only through it." They descended the ramp together. 4 humans walking into the heart of alien territory, surrounded by enemies, with only each other and a fragile ceasefire between them and death. Commander Reth waited at the end of the bay. He was tall, with 4 arms, and a body that reminded Deho of a praying mantis. His armor was decorated with symbols. Deho couldn't read. "Welcome aboard," Reth said, through a translator device. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "I hope, for all our sakes, that you speak truth, Reaper." "I do," Taejun said. The Voktar command center was not what Deho expected. Instead of cold metal and harsh lights, the space was warm. Organic curves formed the walls. Bioluminescent plants grew from ceiling fixtures, casting soft blue light. It reminded him of a garden more than a warship. Commander Reth gestured with 2 of his 4 arms. "Please, sit." The furniture was designed for Voktar bodies, but humans could manage. Deho sat carefully. Minho remained standing, one hand near his weapon. Sunhee set up her equipment on a nearby surface. Taejun stood beside Deho, still bound. "Remove his restraints," Reth said. A Voktar soldier cut the bindings. Taejun rubbed his wrists, nodding thanks. "You spoke of conspiracy," Reth began, settling onto a raised platform. "Of manipulation from within both our peoples. This is a grave claim. I can prove it," Taejun said. He pulled out the data device again. "Commander, do you remember the intercepted transmission that showed human plans for genocide? The one that convinced your people Earth meant to destroy all alien life?" "Of course. It was definitive proof of human aggression. May I see it?" Reth made a gesture. A holographic display appeared in the center of the room. Text scrolled past in both human and Vokhtar languages. Daeho read through it, his blood going cold. The document detailed plans to systematically eliminate alien populations, to claim entire sectors of space for humanity alone. "This is why we fight," Reth said. "To protect ourselves. To protect other species from human extinction." Taejun studied the document. "Sunhee, can you analyze this?" The communications officer connected her equipment to the Vokhtar display. Her fingers danced across the controls. Minutes passed in tense silence. Finally, she looked up. "It's a forgery," she said quietly. "A very good one, but still fake. The encryption keys are legitimate, but they were used months after the document was supposedly created. Someone took real military codes and backdated a false document." Reth's body language changed, becoming rigid. "You lie." "I don't," Sunhee said. "Look at the metadata yourself. The timestamps don't match. The signatures are copied from other documents. This was created to manipulate you." "Show me the evidence you mentioned," Daeho said to Taejun. "All of it." Taejun loaded his data onto the display. Documents appeared. Hundreds of them. Communications between Earth officials and unknown parties. Financial transfers. Supply manifests. And at the center of it all, a network of names. One name appeared more than any other. Ji-won. "She's a senior diplomat," Daeho said, recognizing the name. "She helped negotiate Earth's colonial charter. She's trusted by everyone." "She's also the architect of this war," Taejun replied. "She created the crisis that forced the colonies to unite. She fed false intelligence to both sides. She's been coordinating everything." Taejun. "She's been coordinating." Taejun. "She created the crisis that forced the colonies." A new document appeared. Video footage, grainy but clear enough. It showed Ji-won meeting with a Vokhtar in dark robes. They were exchanging data devices. "That's Counselor Vek," Reth said, his voice harsh. "He sits on our war council. He has access to all strategic planning. They're working together," Taejun explained. "A human faction that wants military control of Earth's colonies. A Vokhtar faction that wants the same power over your dominion. War gives them both what they want." The room shook suddenly. Alarms began blaring. "What's happening?" Daeho demanded. A Vokhtar officer rushed in, speaking rapidly in their native language. Reth's translator device caught up seconds later. "We're under attack. Ships from our own fleet. They're firing on us." "The conspirators," Taejun said. "They know we're meeting. They're trying to stop us." More alarms. The lights flickered. "Sir, multiple human ships are also breaking formation," Sunhee reported. Checking her portable equipment. "The Vigilant, Steadfast, and Morning Star. They're attacking both fleets." Daeho understood immediately. "They want to destroy both command ships, kill you and me. Blame each other. Your fleet will think we betrayed the ceasefire," Reth said, "and yours will think the same of us. Perfect excuse to escalate the war." Minho moved to the window. Outside, in the cold space, ships were dying. Both human and Vokhtar vessels, torn apart by fire from their own supposed allies. "We need to get back to the Indomitable," Minho said. "We can't," Sunhee replied, checking her readings. "Our shuttle's been destroyed. I'm reading weapons fire in the hangar bay." Another impact rocked the ship. Somewhere deep in the dreadnought, something exploded. "They've boarded us," a Vokhtar officer reported. "Unknown forces in sections 7 and 9. "Unknown?" Reth demanded. "Identify them. Both human and Vokhtar, Commander. They're working together, killing anyone they encounter. The conspiracy's private army." Daeho felt his stomach turn. "How many?" "Estimated 50 combatants. They're heading for the command center." Minho checked his weapon. "We need to move. Now." "Where?" Daeho asked. Taejun was studying a wall display showing the ship's layout. The communications array. If we can get there, we can broadcast everything. Show both fleets what's really happening. It's on the other side of the ship, Reth said. Past multiple sections that are already compromised. Then we fight our way through, Minho said simply. Reth regarded the young human. You would fight alongside Voktar soldiers? I'll fight alongside anyone against the bastards who killed my squadron. The Voktar commander made a decision. Guard unit, arm our guests. We move together. Voktar soldiers provided weapons to the humans. Minho took a rifle, checking it professionally despite never having used alien weapons before. Sunhee received a sidearm she clearly had no idea how to use. Daeho accepted a pistol. Stay close to me, he told her. Don't use that unless you have to. They moved out, a mixed group of humans and Voktar. The corridors were full of smoke. Emergency lights cast everything in red. They encountered the first attackers at an intersection. The firefight was brief and brutal. Minho dropped 2 human mercenaries before they could react. A Voktar soldier fell beside him, killed by fire from a Voktar traitor. The lines of alliance had dissolved completely. It was simply about survival now. They pushed forward. More firefights, more casualties on both sides. Daeho found himself fighting back-to-back with a Voktar he couldn't name, both of them firing at enemies who wore the same uniforms as their respective fleets. This is madness, he heard himself saying. This is war. Taejun replied. Beside him, the real war. The one that's been happening all along while we fought each other. They reached a junction. Minho scouted ahead, moving with the grace of someone who'd survived dozens of combat situations. He signaled clear, and they continued. Sunhee was struggling to keep up, her equipment weighing her down. A Voktar soldier, young and missing one arm from recent injury, stayed with her. The alien helped carry her gear without being asked. Thank you, she said. The translator device on the Voktar's armor gave a clicking acknowledgement. The communications array was close now. They could see the entrance ahead, but between them and it stood a dozen enemies. Both human and Voktar mercenaries, heavily armed and positioned behind cover. We can't fight through that, Daeho assessed. We don't have a choice, Taejun said. If we don't broadcast this evidence, everyone dies. Both fleets will destroy each other, and the conspiracy wins. Reth was silent for a moment. Then he stood tall, all 4 arms moving in a complex gesture. For honor, then, for truth, his soldiers responded with their own gestures. Even wounded, even afraid, they prepared to charge. Minho looked at Daeho. Well, Admiral? You going to let the aliens have all the glory? Despite everything, Daeho smiled. Absolutely not. The charge was chaos. Weapons fire from all directions. Daeho saw a Voktar soldier take 3 hits and keep fighting. Saw Minho moving through the carnage like a ghost, his rifle never missing. Saw Taejun fighting with the cold efficiency of someone who'd done this too many times before. They reached the communications array. Sunhee rushed to the controls, her hands shaking so badly she could barely work. The young Voktar soldier stood guard over her, firing with their remaining arm. I need 2 minutes, Sunhee shouted over the noise. We don't have 2 minutes, Minho yelled back. More enemies were coming. Daeho could hear them in the corridors. Dozens, maybe hundreds. The conspiracy wasn't taking chances. Reth fell, a blast catching him in the chest. He tried to stand, failed. 2 of his soldiers dragged him behind cover. Taejun moved to Sunhee's side. What do you need? Access codes. These systems are locked down. I know the codes. I helped design this ship's communication system. Sunhee loaded the evidence. All of it. Documents, video, communications, everything that proved the conspiracy. Broadcasting now, she said. Nothing happened. They've jammed us, Taejun said, checking the systems. Local interference. Someone's blocking the signal. Where from? Daeho demanded. Taejun pulled up a schematic. There, a cloaked station, 2,000 kilometers from the fleet. He looked at Daeho. That's where they are. The real conspirators. That's their command center. Minho appeared beside them, his armor scorched and dented. So we go there. We destroy it. How? Sun-hee asked. We're trapped on this ship. The boarding shuttles, Reth said weakly from where he lay. You'll be killed if we leave, Daeho said. We're dead anyway. But you can make it mean something. The Vokhtar commander managed to focus on Daeho's face. End this. For both our peoples. Daeho wanted to argue. But he knew Reth was right. Bay 12, he said. Everyone who can move. We're going. They ran through corridors thick with smoke and death. Minho led, clearing their path with precise shots. Taejun supported the wounded young Vokhtar soldier. Sun-hee clutched her data equipment. Bay 12 was miraculously clear. A single boarding shuttle sat ready. They piled in. Minho took the controls. Anyone know how to fly one of these? I do, Taejun said, settling into the co-pilot seat. I've flown everything in the Vokhtar fleet. The shuttle launched, punching out through the damaged hangar shields into space. Behind them, the dreadnought was dying, torn apart by traitor ships. Ahead, as their sensors cleared, they detected the cloaked station. There, Taejun said. That's where this all ends. Daeho looked at their tiny shuttle. Their weapons were nearly empty. They were wounded and exhausted. Or where we die, Minho observed. Probably that, Taejun agreed. But at least we'll die knowing the truth. The shuttle accelerated toward the hidden station. 4 humans and 1 young Vokhtar flying into the darkness, carrying humanity's and the Dominion's last hope. The hidden station materialized as they approached, its cloaking field failing under Taejun's electronic assault. It was smaller than Daeho expected. Not a military installation, just a civilian station, modified, with powerful communications equipment and weapons platforms. They're targeting us, Minho reported, his hands steady on the shuttle controls despite the sweat on his face. Get us in close, Taejun said. Under their weapons arc. These stations weren't designed for close defense. Minho dove the shuttle at the station, spiraling to avoid the incoming fire. One blast caught their wing. Alarms screamed. He compensated. Kept flying. The young Vokhtar soldier, who'd given his name as Beck through labored translation, worked at the weapons console despite his missing arm. He fired their small cannon at the station's docking bay doors, blasting them open. Good shot, Minho muttered, guiding the damaged shuttle through the opening. They crashed more than landed, metal screaming as they slid across the deck. The 5 of them stumbled out into a bay that looked almost normal, clean, well-maintained. Like any civilian station, except for the armed guards rushing toward them. The firefight was quick. These weren't hardened soldiers, just security personnel. Minho dropped 3 before they understood what was happening. Daeho got 2 more. The rest ran. Which way? Sun-hee checked her equipment. The jamming signal is coming from the central hub. Upper level. They moved through corridors that felt wrong. Too quiet. Too empty. Daeho had expected more resistance. It's a trap, he said. Of course it is, Taejun replied. They reached the central hub. It was a large circular room with windows showing the battle in space. Both fleets were tearing each other apart. Red and orange explosions blooming in the darkness. Thousands dying while they watched. And in the center of the room stood Ji-won. She was older than her pictures suggested, maybe 70, with gray hair pulled back severely. She wore expensive civilian clothes, not a uniform. 3 guards stood with her, but she waved them back. Daeho, she said, like greeting an old friend. You started this war, he said, raising his weapon. I saved humanity, she corrected. The colonies were fracturing. Earth was losing control. We needed unity. Purpose. She gestured at the windows. This war gave us that. By killing millions, millions die anyway. At least these deaths meant something. Jiwon's eyes moved to Taejun. And you, the brilliant student who learned too much. I knew you'd survive the colony ship. I was counting on it. The Voktar needed a human consultant. After all, Taejun's face remained calm. But Daeho saw the rage beneath. You destroyed that ship deliberately. 30,000 people. My daughter, necessary casualties. The Voktar needed to believe we were monsters. And we needed someone inside their command. You were perfect. Jiwon smiled. Though I admit, you were more resilient than expected. 20 years of playing both sides. That took dedication. I was gathering evidence against you. I know. I've been watching. She pulled out a small device. But evidence means nothing if no one receives it. Sun-Hee's equipment sparked. She looked at the readings in horror. She's broadcasting a virus into both fleet communication systems. Everything we've uploaded, all the evidence, it's being erased. Not just erased, Jiwon said. Replaced. With evidence showing that the war was started by Admiral Daeho and Commander Reth working together. A conspiracy of warmongers on both sides who wanted conflict. No one will believe that, Daeho said. Won't they? Both of you are aboard an enemy flagship when it was attacked. Both of you have made suspicious decisions throughout the war. And when this station self-destructs with you inside, destroying all contrary evidence. She shrugged. History is written by survivors. Minho had been slowly moving to the side. Now he aimed at Jiwon. Then we make sure you don't survive. Kill me, and the station explodes immediately. I have a dead man's switch. She showed them another device in her hand. We all die, and my narrative still wins. There has to be another way, Sun-Hee said desperately, working at her equipment. There isn't, Jiwon replied. But if you surrender now, I'll let you broadcast a message first. Confess to starting the war. Take the blame. At least then some good can come from your deaths. Daeho's mind raced, looking for options. Then Sun-Hee gasped. I found something. In the virus code. It's not just erasing evidence. It's broadcasting locations. What locations? Taejun demanded. All of them. Every conspirator. Every hidden account. Every secret base. Sun-Hee looked up, her eyes wide. She's cleaning house, making sure no one else can expose the conspiracy after we're dead. Jiwon's expression flickered, just slightly. That was answer enough. You're betraying your own people, Daeho said. The other conspirators. They're loose ends. I'm simplifying the command structure. Jiwon checked a timer on her wrist. 8 minutes. Your choice, Admiral. Die with honor or die with shame. Taejun stepped forward. There's a third option. Oh, we let the virus complete. Let it send all those locations. He looked at Jiwon. You're right that you've won. But you haven't won the war. You've just exposed everyone involved. Both sides will hunt down every name on that list. Your entire network will be destroyed. Gensur, Adapi. They'll be blamed on you and Daeho. Maybe. But does that matter? Taejun's voice was calm. Your conspiracy dies either way. The war might continue, but the people profiting from it will be dead. Eventually, someone will figure out the truth. Someone always does. Jiwon's mask cracked. Rage showed through. You're willing to die as a traitor? To have history remember you as the villain? I've been dead for 20 years. What's my reputation against actual peace? Taejun looked at his old student. Daeho, trust me. One last time. Daeho understood. He lowered his weapon. Do it. Sun-Hee's hands moved across her console. I can amplify the virus. Make sure every name, every location, every piece of evidence gets broadcast to both fleets before the station explodes. 7 minutes, Jiwon said. You can't. Beck, the young Voktar soldier, moved. Despite his missing arm, despite his injuries, he was fast. He grabbed the dead man's switch from Jiwon's hand. She screamed. Her guards raised weapons. Minho shot them both. Daeho grabbed Jiwon, pulling her away from the controls. Beck looked at the device in his remaining hand. Through the translator, his voice was young, scared. What do I do with this? Hold it, Taejun said gently. Just hold it. Don't let go. If I don't let go, ID here. Yes. The young soldier looked at each of them, then at the battle outside. My clutchmates died in this war. Many clutchmates. If this ends it. He gripped the device tighter. Then I hold. On Rauna. No, Sunhee said, still working. There has to be another way. There isn't. Beck replied. I am honored to serve truth. And applause. 5 minutes, Jiwon spat. You're all insane. Minho moved to the shuttle. It's barely flight-worthy. But I can get 3 people off this station. 4, Taejun corrected. You're going with them. What about you? Someone needs to make sure the broadcast completes. And someone should stay with Beck. Taejun looked at the young Vokhtar. No one should die alone. We all go or none of us go. Daeho said. Don't be stupid. You're needed to broker peace. Sunhee's needed to verify the evidence. Minho's needed to tell the human side of the story. Taejun smiled. I'm just an old traitor. The story works better if I die here anyway. Sunhee was crying, still working. Uploads at 90%. Both fleets are receiving it. All the names. All the evidence. Then it's done, Taejun said. Go. Daeho grabbed his old mentor's arm. Taejun, I failed my daughter. I failed my people. Let me get this one thing right. He pulled away gently. Besides, someone needs to make sure Jiwon doesn't escape, and I have 20 years of questions for her. 3 minutes, Minho said from the shuttle. We need to go now, or we all die. Daeho looked at Taejun one last time. Saw peace in his old friend's eyes. Resignation, but also relief. Thank you, Daeho said. Don't thank me. Just end this war. Make it mean something. They ran for the shuttle. Sunhee grabbed her equipment. Minho was already starting the engines. Daeho pulled Jiwon with them. Her value as a witness, outweighing his desire to leave her to die. As they lifted off, Daeho looked back through the viewport. Taejun stood beside Beck, one hand on the young soldier's shoulder, both of them looking at the stars. The shuttle barely made it out of the explosion radius. The station turned into a brief sun, consuming everything inside. In space, both fleets had stopped shooting. The evidence was spreading through every ship. Names, locations, proof of the conspiracy. Officers on both sides were being arrested. Others were fleeing. Sunhee's console showed incoming transmissions from the Indomitable, from the Vokhtar fleet, from Earth itself. They know, she said softly. Everyone knows. Heijin's voice came through. Admiral, thank God. We thought you were dead. What are your orders? Daeho looked at the tactical display. At the 2 fleets, damaged but intact. At the war that had consumed 3 years of his life. Order all ships to cease fire. Open channels to the Vokhtar fleet. We're going to talk. Sir, Earth Command is demanding. Earth Command can wait. This ends now. It wasn't immediate. Ships were still fighting in some sectors. Officers who hadn't received the broadcasts or didn't believe them. But slowly, gradually, the guns fell silent. Negotiations took weeks. Daeho met with surviving Vokhtar commanders. Both sides shared intelligence about the conspiracy members still at large. Some escaped. Most didn't. Minho retired from service a month later. Daeho found him at a small plot of land on Earth, planting trees. It's a memorial garden, Minho explained. For everyone who died. Human and Vokhtar both. He pointed to 2 trees already planted. That one's for Sun He. That one's for Beck. Sun He's alive, Deho said, confused. I know. But she gave everything she had in that station. The doctors say she'll recover. But, Minho shrugged. The tree's still for her, for who she was, before she got hurt. Deho helped him plant. They worked in silence for a while. Do you think it was worth it? Minho asked finally. All the death, all the sacrifice. Deho thought about Taejun. About the young Vokhtar soldier. About the thousands of names on the memorial list. Ask me in 100 years, he said. When we see if the peace holds. Minho smiled slightly. That's not really an answer. It's the only answer I have. 6 months later, Deho visited Taejun's name on the memorial wall. It was listed among the human casualties, not the traitors. That had been a fight, but Deho had won it. Someone had left flowers at the base. Fresh ones. Heijin appeared beside him. She'd been promoted to ambassador to the Vokhtar Dominion, the first human to hold that position. The treaty's been ratified, she said. Both sides. It's official. How long do you think it will last? Honestly? I have no idea. There's still so much anger. So much distrust. She looked at Taejun's name. But we're trying. That has to count for something. Deho thought about the chess game Taejun had mentioned in his last message, sent from the station in his final minutes. About both kings still standing. About the game being forever changed. It counts for everything, he said. The war was over. The conspiracy broken. But peace was harder than either. It required choosing trust over certainty, hope over cynicism, tomorrow over yesterday. Deho looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, human and Vokhtar ships flew together on joint patrols. Somewhere up there, old enemies were learning to be new friends. It wasn't perfect. It might not even last, but it was a start. And sometimes, a start was all you needed.